Well, we've got a bit of everything this time. Some beautiful campsites, some awesome four-wheel drive tracks, a little bit of stuff to learn about, and a lot of stuff to do. So let's get cracking into episode 3, Driving with Doug. Thanks very much for joining us. We hope you enjoy this episode. Don't forget, guys, like, share, and subscribe. Let your friends know about the channel. It all helps us grow so that we can produce more awesome content. So this time we're heading north out of Brisbane all the way up to the beautiful little town of Kenilworth in the Mary River Valley. It is an absolute cracker of a spot, and we're going to be staying at one of my favourite campsites in Queensland, Kenilworth Bluff Campground. From there, we're going to check out some local four-wheel drive tracks, and then later in the week we're going to head back down to Woodford, where we're going to catch up with the Wheel Life Four-Wheel Drive Club again. And we'll be staying at somewhere that we've been at actually before, which is the Woodford Water Ski Park. It's an awesome little spot, and we're looking forward to the journey. As normal, we made our way out to, wait, what? Wait, hold up. You're missing something. Go back. Well, guys, it's certainly not the start of the trip that we were hoping for. We've got a couple of Ks down the road in the Amarok, and our trailer brake lights have thrown a couple of error codes, and we have got no trailer brakes at the moment. It's not a good situation to be in, and if we can't get this fixed, we're not going anywhere for the rest of this trip. Now, fortunately, we've gone on the phone, we've checked with some of the local caravan repair stores, and the champions down here at Caravan Repair and Service at Underwood had offered to take a quick look at the van. We're taking it apart now, see if we can find what's going on. Hopefully we can get it fixed, we can get back on the road, and we can keep the schedule. But you know what, it's always an exciting or bit disappointing start to a trip when you have a problem go wrong. There we go, so after some smart thinking there from the mechanic, we used the emergency trailer brakes, and that caused the wiring here to smoke, which was how we were able to find where the fault was. What essentially ended up happening was, you can see these wires here, one of those is a positive, one is a negative. They've basically melted themselves together, creating a dead short. Not good. Fortunately, it didn't take too long. We had a new trailer brake fitted and we were ready to go. Huge shout out to Caravan Service and Repairs Underwood, otherwise we would not have made it to our destination. Well, there you go, guys. I was a little bit worried we weren't going to make it there for a second with those troubles with the caravan, but fortunately we have arrived. We're here at Kenilworth Bluff Campground, about 5 Ks outside of Kenilworth. It's a beautiful spot to camp. It follows along the Mary River down here in the valley, and you've got swimming, you've got a whole bunch of activities you can do here at the campsite. We'll show you around, show you what it's like. So let me show you a couple of the sites around here, and I'll show you why I really like this campsite. I've wanted to start bringing a bike along to a lot of these campsites. It makes it so much easier to explore. Not to mention, you can just have a good time and just get around the place. I've been to a lot of campsites around the place now, and Bluff Creek Campgrounds is definitely one of the top. A huge selection of lovely slashed, well-kept campsites all with nice views and excellent access to clean amenities. Not only that, there's plenty of room to explore. It's a lovely little creek, some fireplaces, and you can just sit back, relax, and absolutely enjoy yourself. Really, I could switch off here and do no filming at all for the whole week, and I would perfectly be satisfied doing nothing at all. Bluff Creek Campgrounds also has direct access to the Mary River. It's got heaps of cracker little swim spots in it, and I can tell you what, there's nothing better at the end of a big journey than sitting back, relaxing, and having a nice little swim. Settling in camp with a campfire and a few snacks to spend your afternoon is definitely the way to go. Well, no time to waste. With the dawn of the next day, it was time to get up and do some exploring. Kenilworth is in the heart of the Mary Valley area of the Sunshine Coast, and while it's a small town, there are no shortage of tourist attractions to check out while you're there. One of the places that I had to visit was the Kenilworth Bakery, well known as one of the places to get some of the best sweet and savoury bakery items in the entire Sunshine Coast area. Check out those 1 kilogram donuts. Oh my god. Hopefully not in one go. You can see all the plates here of the people that have finished it and survived to tell the tale. That being said, perhaps it was time for a challenge of my own while I was there. I'm probably going to regret this later, but, you know, what's 1 kilogram of meat and pastry? It does taste good. Yep, bad idea. Well, oh god, I shouldn't have done that before going driving. Well, it didn't take a lot of scouting to find some lovely little parks and places to just chill back and relax if you were here for a long weekend. It's very well set up now infrastructure-wise at Kenilworth and is a great escape. Basically, everywhere you go in the Kenilworth area, you will find the Nullambula, which is the indigenous name for the Mary River. It's a beautiful waterway that stretches and twists its way through the area. It's home to a number of endangered species, such as the Mary River cod, the lungfish and turtles that live in the area. I tell you what, as tempting as it was to go for another swim, we had some other priorities on the checklist for the day. It was time to head out and see what kind of tracks we could find around the town. Before we hit up any off-road area, we like to let a little bit of pressure out of the tyres. There's a few reasons for this. It'll give you better traction, but it also makes the ride a lot more comfortable. Depending on where you go around Kenilworth, you'll find a nice mixture of pine forests, rainforests and bush. There'd just been a bunch of rain that came through the area as well, and it was beautiful, green, and the creeks were flowing. You can't ask for more. Actually, I take that back. You can ask for one more thing, and that's some good forward drive tracks. Right, so we've got a cracking little hill here, and this is a really good hill because all the trees around it have actually been cleared. So what we can do is a really good visual demonstration of what it's like to climb quite a scaly, loose surface. So there's going to be a really good opportunity to show how things like traction control and hill descent control work in a modern car. We're just going to take our time. It's about a 70-metre climb in a relatively short distance, so even though on camera it looks pretty mild, this is actually quite a steep hill. So all modern four-wheel drives, so all your dual cabs, your wagons, they all come with hill descent control in one form or another. Soft roaders might not, but all your major dual cabs and stuff will. And what it is actually a really good technology, because a lot of the modern cars, particularly those with automatic gearboxes, don't have the same downhill control that an old Land Cruiser or Patrol might have when you are going down a really steep hill. Because what you would do is you would lock it in first low range, and then it would just creep very slowly down the hill, very controlled fashion. What on newer cars, because they don't, particularly the Amarok that doesn't have low range, I could lock it in first and I'd still be going down the hill at 20 k's an hour, which is far too quick. So instead, you activate hill descent control. Some cars will have a button. For the Amarok, it's automatic once you turn the off-road mode on. So I'm going to go down this hill nice and slow. I'm just going to use hill descent control at about 2 or 3 kilometers an hour, and I'll give you a great example of just how controlled it is. Now obviously it's no replacement for extremely low geared old diesel four-wheel drives with really great compression and everything that just crawl down to like half a k an hour, but it's still a very user-friendly tool. Now obviously I can further control the hill descent control by just applying the brake a little bit, and that will help further slow the car down.
The hill descent control works to ensure that the vehicle is going down the hill at a set speed while maintaining as much traction as possible. So for example, if I'm operating the hill control here at about 3 kilometers per hour, what the system is doing is each wheel is sending its wheel sensor data, so how fast the wheel is moving, to the ABS computer. What that allows the ABS computer to do is control each wheel's braking amount to make sure that we're going down the hill at a set speed while using as controlled braking inputs as possible. If the car starts to speed up, or if the car starts to slide or lose traction, the ABS actuators can then control each individual wheel to make sure that it's not locking up and causing us to lose control of the car. This is really beneficial when you're doing extreme downhill, because you can continue to steer and you can help stop the car from sliding around, because each wheel individually is not locking up and is maintaining the maximum amount of traction possible. Well, with that little bit of fun out of the way, it was time to go and have a poke around the forest area and see if there's anything new that we could find. I hadn't been to this particular section of the forest before, so I was really interested to see what we could find. And, well, would you look at that? What a spot! Note to self though, be careful when you're walking around these things. Well, we'll pick up our off-road adventures again in a second, but in the meantime, it's time to head back to camp and check out some other things.
Well guys, if there's one thing that goes hand in hand with camping or vanning, that is a good old campfire to sit around with at the end of the day, to cook on and to just chill out and relax around. Now, there are hundreds of different ways to start a campfire. Ones for all different conditions, wet conditions, dry conditions, windy conditions. But today we're going to show you the simplest and easiest way that you can start a campfire at camp using just the bare minimum materials, a bit of wood that you found lying around or that you've picked up from a supplier. Now, one thing that is important to note, guys, is that wherever you are staying, whether that's a national park campsite, whether it's a caravan park or a campground, it's important to know what the rules are around collecting wood before you go there. Now, you'll also find these days that almost every campsite, petrol station, rural supplier around will actually stock firewood that you can purchase. And you generally get that in two types. You'll get kindling, which is the smaller stuff to help you start the fire. And you get bigger bags of hardwood as well. That's to help keep the fire burning for a long time. Now, the type of fire we're going to be lighting today is called a teepee fire. And like many fires, you need to start with a nice dry, flammable center of the fire to help get the rest of it going. Now, there's 100 different ways you can do this. You can purchase fire starting blocks, you can cheat by using a propane torch like I've done before, but you don't really need to be that complicated. A bit of old newspaper I find is really good, or if you want to do it the natural way, you can find some dry leaves, some very small twigs, anything that's going to be really easily lit by a match or a camping lighter or whatever it is that you're starting your fire with. Now, we're pretty fortunate here as well. They've slashed in the last couple of days and there's a lot of this really dry grass around. So I'm going to use that in tandem with the newspaper, one on each side of the fire. And we'll just see how well they go starting it. So as we build our teepee fire, what we want to do is we want to start by putting our flammable base in the very center of the fire. So I'm going to do that here by putting our dry grass. And I'm going to get some newspaper, which I'm just going to take a sheet at a time of this newspaper, scrumble it up nicely. and place that in as our fire base. Next, we're going to look for our smallest twigs, and what we're going to do is we're going to start breaking up these into smaller, more usable pieces, which we can lay around to build the teepee for our fire. Righto, we've now got all the main components of our fire ready to go. We've got our base in, we've got varying size of twigs, so I've got everything here from about, a mil or two in diameter, all the way up to 15, 20 mils in diameter. And with a teepee fire, you'll work your way on the outside from smaller or narrower, sticks up to larger sticks, through to our kindling, and then to our hardwood. So the key to building a good teepee fire, and well, how do you build a teepee fire for starters? It's just like the word sounds. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be building a little teepee hut. Right, so imagine a little teepee hut around the outside of your fire. And why is this such a good way to start a fire? Well, fires work off two kind of principles, fuel and air. And a teepee fire is really good because you're letting a lot of air into the fire and you're making it very easy for the fire to burn the fuel, because we're kind of offering it up all around the fire. So it doesn't really matter if you've got a gentle breeze blowing from one direction or another. You can just keep building that fire up and up and up. Now it is important to make a quick note, particularly those of you who are watching who may already know a bit about making fires, is there are better types of fire you can make when you're starting them in a fire pit like this. Teepee fires are extremely good for kind of just like open ground, but we're just working with what we've got here because that's what the we've got to make our fires in the designated fire pits here, but it's not going to make any impact to it. It'll still have the same effect. So all I'm doing is, as I move out with my teepee, I'm starting to utilize larger and larger sticks until we get to a point where we're comfortable to start the fire, which is going to be any second now. I think we've got enough on there. Now, it does not have to be an award-winning design, right? Don't be too concerned if your teepee doesn't look like a nice little teepee tent. It's the general principle that matters. You're going to burn it anyway. So you'll see, guys, newspaper is always best. You can see the difference between it and the grass. The grass really takes quite a lot of time to get going, even though it's pretty dry. So as your fire starts to go, all you're doing is you're adding wood to it that's about one size up. It's hard to describe, but don't go trucking on anything that's any bigger than about twice as big as what's underneath it. And you don't want to overload things in one direction, like spread it out, try and keep your teepee style. The reason for this is that you want air to still be able to get into the fire. Now don't be too worried if it looks like your fire is starting to slow down a bit. this is a slower fire to get going because some of the wood is not completely dry. But as long as you follow the principle and you don't smother your fire, it will keep going and keep growing. And it's a slow process. Just keep adding more and more steps, more layers, like an onion. You're also going to know, guys, when you get to the point that you don't need to really be too concerned about the shape of the fire anymore. You'll get enough heat in the base that just start keep chucking stuff on. There you go, 3 scrounged up pieces of newspaper and a bit of wet grass. Didn't even need the grass, that's all you need to get a good fire going. As long as you've got the right technique and the right bits of wood. And once you're happy that you've got a good solid fire going, you've got a nice base there and your kindling is burning well, then you can start to put some hardwood onto that fire. You can chop that hardwood up if you like as well, just into smaller pieces. But as long as you've got a good base going, it'll generally be fine. So actually that's a really good example now. Now it's bigger and it's got that teepee shape to it. You can see how the oxygen, the air is kind of just swirling around inside the center of our little teepee there and just creating a heck of a lot of heat. That's gonna get that hardwood burning real good. We're gonna have some mighty fine coals later on.
Well, there you go. Check out those beautiful coals. Perfect for cooking over or just sitting around and relaxing. There we go, with that fire spread out nicely. It would probably almost all burn down overnight and there'd be nothing left in the pit in the morning. However, we have to do the responsible thing, and in Queensland you are responsible for that fire even if you do go to bed and you think it's safe. So we're going to put it out, and that involves putting a heck of a lot of water on it to cool these coals down and make sure there's nothing left in this fire pit. Even though it is tempting to let the fire burn out overnight, and I'm sure many of you have done it before, it is important to realise that in Queensland you are responsible for what happens to that fire when it's unmanned. And we have lost so many good places. Just look at the damage on Fraser recently from campfires being left unattended, even though the people thought that it was fine to leave it alone. For today's adventure, we're going to be heading just outside of Kenilworth by about 40 minutes, and it's going to take us to Maleny. It's another beautiful little town that you can stay at up in this area, but specifically today we're heading to one of my favourite little places there, which is the Maleny Botanic Gardens and Birdworld.
Alright, there we go. Very loud. Right in my ear. One on the head.
With a lovely view out to the Glasshouse Mountains and a variety of beautiful gardens to explore, the Botanic Gardens makes an excellent little day trip or to check out while you're up in this area. My favourite things to do here, though, is to come and check out the large flight aviaries, which have a huge variety of different birds inside them.
There we go. Got some friends already. Oh. Being very defensive. Because we have another friend here. And he doesn't like it. Do ya? You don't like other people.
Now you might wonder, where on earth do all these birds come from? Well, a lot of them are rehomed from owners that can no longer keep them or have passed away. But there's also a lot of native species that are being rehabilitated or can't be released back into the wild.
Hello? Hello? What are you doing? Oh, we're gonna have a fight. Oh, we got a fight. Territorial again. You done destroying my shirt yet?
Well, it was an awesome day, but I think we might have overstayed. With that, it was time to take the shortcut back to camp for a nice little windy dirt road, and I think that means it's a good time to pick up on our full driving adventure. When you're off-road exploring in these areas, sometimes you'll find some tracks that you've never even seen before, and this is one of those ones that I felt like I'd just poke my car up and see what I found. Looks like this one's going to be a little more tricky than I expected. Time to turn that diff lock on.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm halfway up one absolute cracker of a hill at the moment. I probably could get up it,
but unfortunately I didn't really know where it went. So with it getting a bit later in the day, it was time to go back, but that meant a tricky reverse down what was a steep and slippery hill. Remember how we were talking about hill descent control? Well, here's a perfect example of where it's really useful. That's going back down a really steep hill. You can see the front wheels there were having a real trouble kind of like directing the car where I wanted it to go. It's very fortunate that the hill descent control helps those wheels turn. Otherwise, you're not going to have a lot of control. Reversing down a steep, scaly hill like this is not something for the faint-hearted, and definitely not a situation I'd like to recommend anyone gets into without some experience for driving first. Like anything, you just got to take your time, be patient, and be calm, and it really helps to have a spotter with a small radio who can help you get over any obstacle you're driving.
Righto, so whenever you let your tyres down when you're forward driving, obviously what you want to do before you get back on the road is pump them back up to road pressures. Easiest way to do that is grab yourself one of these handy little 12-volt DC pumps. They hook straight up to the battery on the car, and they'll let you bring those tyres back up to road pressures. So when we're forward driving the dirt, we're running anything between 22 and 26 PSI. Now those kind of pressures are not too bad when you're on the road for short distances if you need to find a gas station. But if you're on sand and you're definitely running those really low pressures, like you might have got stuck in something soft, 12, 14 PSI, absolutely make sure you put these things on and pump those tyres back up before you go on the road. It's going to make sure your car's stable, it handles properly, and if you go too quickly with tyre pressures that are too low, you can actually delaminate the inside of your tyres, causing extreme damage, and you don't want to do that.
Couple of tips: make sure you keep your car running whenever you're using one of these pumps. They can draw upwards of 50 amps. Also remember that the tyre pressure gauge will not show you an accurate pressure until you turn it off.
Here's another little essential tool for your four-wheel drive kit. We've noticed that one of the valves on this tyre here, as we've been pumping it up, is actually seeping just a little bit of air. Make sure you always carry one of these. What it is, it's a little valve tool, and what that'll do, you can do with these is you can tighten your valves back up if they come loose. Particularly if you've got one of those tyre deflators that take the valve all the way out. You've got to make sure you've got a way to tighten them back up. Nice and easy, just inserts over the top of the just inserts over the top of the valve, and then you're just nipping it up a little bit.
Well, it was almost time to head to Woodford and meet up with the Wheel Life 4-wheel driving crew, but before we did that, one last run through Kenilworth to get some local supplies. There's a beautiful little chocolate shop in town where you can get a whole bunch of locally sourced and made chocolates, and I can tell you what, there's some cracking good looking food in there. There's also a good variety of different little local stores in Kenilworth that it's worth checking out. The park is lovely. And you definitely have to check out the cheese factory. You can get a huge variety of different snacks, cheeses, the perfect thing to kind of sit around a campfire and relax with. There's also some mildly entertaining automatic doors. After about an hour's drive, we'd made it to Woodford and it was time to meet up with the 4-wheel drive club. We were staying at the Woodford Water Ski Park, which we've actually been to before on a previous video. It's a lovely little spot and we didn't really have too much planned for this weekend. Just really kind of a sit back, relax and chat with some good mates. Tell you what, there was a bit of car envy though. Done all right. Well, after a busy week of running around Kenilworth, I think it was time to sit back and relax this weekend. I highly recommend you check out our actual full video on the Woodford area. I'll put a link to it in the top right hand side of the screen and in the description box. Well, we had an absolute cracker of a time up at Kenilworth, guys, and we hope you enjoyed watching the video. Stay tuned for more, and if you can like, subscribe and share these videos, it'll help us grow the channel and make more and more videos. We really appreciate all the support we've got so far. We hope that you enjoy getting out there, visiting some of these awesome locations and just having an absolute cracker of a time. Thanks guys, and we will see you next time on Driving the Duck.